Hey everyone, we're going to check out places like the US, Taiwan, Iceland, Canada, Mexico, Puerto Rico, South America, Africa, Europe, and the Philippines, New Zealand, and more. We are going to do a sweep around the world and see what major events have taken place with earthquakes and volcanoes. Some crazy things are happening. We're going to check it out. Let's do this. Hey everybody, I just want to say I hope everything's going well. We are going to finish up this global news report, this update of all around the world on what is going on. We won't go through every single earthquake, but we'll look at a few to get a general idea what people are experiencing. There's a few places that I didn't get a chance to get to in the other previous videos. We're going to cover Puerto Rico. We're going to make sure we go to La Palma and Australia, and then we're going to hit Europe hard and heavy, and also Turkey. So that would wrap everything up as far as the global report. It's very hard to be able to condense this into one video now because there's so many things going on, so many earthquakes, volcanoes that are acting up, and it's just a lot to get into that we just want to break it down in small chunk pieces for you so that way people can decipher and digest all the information that's coming at them. If you don't see the subtitles when you first come here, just give me a little bit and come back later because I will be able to get the subtitles up with the different languages. So because we're covering so many different places, I just want to be able to communicate effectively to everyone that's in all the places that I'm covering. Let's get to Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico has experienced great deal of weather. Oh my God, travesties. I mean, they have had a storm that many people lost their homes. They have had power outages for a very long period of time after the storm. Meanwhile, they're going through earthquakes. Ankaa is one of those places, and Yanko, I want to make sure I say this correctly, are actually places that have endured a great deal. There are earthquakes offshore, however, there are quite a few that are onshore. Some of these are very recent. 20 hours ago, there was a 2.4, and then there's another recent one here. 14 hours ago, there was a 2.2. I'm not going to go through all the particular earthquakes, but I just want you to get a general idea that they are definitely having earthquakes. Just one 7 hours ago, that was a 2.1. Now, you have to realize these are tourist attraction areas, so if you are planning on traveling to Puerto Rico, please be aware that there are earthquakes in this particular area. I mean, the Heavens Beach and Gilligan's Island and all kinds of places are listed here as tourist attractions, Puerto Rico tourist attractions. So make sure that you check everything before you leave and make sure you have a disaster app on you. And we have the Dominican Republic that has actually had earthquakes offshore and also on land. 4 days ago, they had a 4.2, which is pretty strong, and a 3.2 just yesterday. And they also had one here that was a 3.1 5 days ago. Now, Haiti has also experienced earthquakes. A lot of them are offshore, but there are some on land. A 3.0 17 hours ago, and a 3.5 about 13 hours ago. So this area has endured so much that, we need to make sure that we don't forget them in the loop as far as people that are actually going through things in the world because of weather and all these different natural threats that can happen to people. There was a 3.2 17 hours ago in the Virgin Islands, and offshore there was also one that was a 3.6. Just letting you know that this area has had a great deal of activity going on. Storms, earthquakes, power outages. Cuba has managed to, in Havana area, has managed to not have any threats as far as the earthquakes are concerned, and also Jamaica. Waving to Jamaica. and just letting you know that they are doing okay in their area. Now, there have been earthquakes along the mid-Atlantic ridge. You see one here, 4.9, 5.6 just yesterday. 7 days ago, there was a 4.7, and it goes all the way up to the Reykjanes Ridge. Now, there's a place that I did not remember to get to. First, let's do Australia, and then we're going to do La Palma. La Palma has been having activity. Now, Australia has had a great deal of earthquakes. Luckily, they haven't had as many unconfirmed earthquakes as they've had in the past. Now, there's a 3.4 that happened 2 days ago. Offshore, there was a 2.4. Near Sydney, there was a 2.5 2 days ago. So I guess 2 days ago was a magic marker as far as earthquakes are concerned. 2.7 4 hours ago. And then there's one up here. There's a couple up here. There's a little swarm up here where the most recent one was 15 hours ago, was a 3.1. But then there are other small little earthquakes that followed, that was prior to that. There was a 3.6 unconfirmed earthquake 5 days ago in Australia. So they are having unconfirmed. There were 39 users that stated they felt it, even though it was an imaginary earthquake. It was not an earthquake. That's not what they call them. They're unconfirmed, which means they're not an earthquake. Now make sure you check out our video on unconfirmed earthquakes for North Carolina and South Carolina. We did an intensive study on this. We even counted earthquakes from 2021 to 2022 that were unconfirmed and compared them against the ones that were confirmed. And you will really be surprised on the information you see there. It's just unreal. Now, I just want to let you know that La Palma has been having earthquakes for quite some time now. Looks as though a lot of them aren't recent. Look like they happened in the last few days, 6 days ago. So it looks like it's calmed down some in La Palma. Now, in addition to that, there has been earthquakes so recently on Tenerife. Now, what I've researched is that Tenerife can be actually worse than La Palma. Now, they do have recent earthquakes. 3 hours ago, they had a 1.2. They had a 1.6 13 hours ago. These are small micro swarms, but still they are having some sort of seismic activity. And offshore, they have also had earthquakes for some time now. This has been going on for some time now. And so this is, and there was also a 2.5 on the other island. So just to let you know, there is seismic activity that's going on in the La Palma area. Here's another one, 1.6. This right here, I wanted to make sure I catch that because I saw that just flare up. Now there also was one down here in the other island. It was about 3 days ago. It was a 2.2. So just want to give you information on La Palma, and let's move over to Iceland and also Europe. Iceland has had a great deal of earthquakes, especially near the volcanoes. The Reykjanes Ridge has received a great deal of earthquakes. Some of them 4 days ago, but look like there's underneath this, there are some that are a lot more recent. Look like it's tried to calm down. Just remember, the Reykjanes Ridge is earth that actually splits. Now, the reason why we talk about the way the earth splits is because I realize that I have pole shift community people that are also watching these videos, because believe it or not, a lot of people are just concerned about where they live. But when it comes to the pole shift community, they're watching where everyone lives, because they realize that there's certain signs that they're looking for or been warned of about certain places having certain events occur. So I started doing this because of the fact that I belong to the pole shift community. I do not push the pole shift on this channel, but I will address the pole shift community because I know they're the ones that actually encourage me to do what I'm doing right now and sharing with you. I want to let you know that on this side of Iceland, you see the Reykjanes Ridge that actually turns into the volcanic zone in this area. This right here is the North American tectonic plate of the planet. This side of the blue line is a Eurasia plate. So this island is very similar to the South Island in New Zealand. These are islands that actually sit on two tectonic plates simultaneously. So this is why they received the earthquakes along this area, and being that they're between two plate boundaries, that establishes a volcanic belt. So this is why you see all these volcanoes in this area. All of that magma just rises up and forms a volcano. As you can see, there are actually small micro earthquakes right here in the tip here, and also along the actual volcanic zone, and you can see the volcanoes that are right there. And they have mentioned that there possibly may be a glacier flood that's happening in this particular area here in Iceland, and hopefully that doesn't happen, because when the glaciers actually start flooding and melting, what happens is the actual ocean waters begin to rise. And it also stated that with the weight that's normally on the glacier, it would change the rotation of the planet. Now I know my pole shift people are like, because they research the Earth a lot more than what people realize. They realize that the weight of the glaciers and all, if they were melted, that the weight of the planet, the dynamics on how it supposedly rotates would actually change, and that would also point towards some of the other information that they are aware of when it comes to the pole shift information that that's out there. There's a lot out there too, but just want to let you know that there are volcanoes that are actually under warning, and there's another one right here. This is Grossbutton. Grims. Oh no, that's not Grimsfall. Hold on, that's not the name of the volcano. There it is. Grimsbutton is right there. And then you also have to take into account that there is a really big trouble spot right here in this area. This is a Tjernus fracture zone that's here. This is a Kolbinsky ridge that's in this area. And there's other fracture zones that are also in this particular area. Husavik also has somewhat of a fracture zone as well. And if you take a look, this is the area that had over 1,000 earthquakes in one day. It was insane. You have to check that video. That video is actually in one of our playlists that we actually been covering Iceland. So Iceland right now, yes, they are having earthquakes. Yes, this particular area has not stopped having earthquakes at all. Let's go ahead and raise up. And there's also an earthquake all the way up there 7 days ago that's in the Jan Mayen area as well. That's a very interesting island. You might want to check that out. Very, very interesting. Now let's go ahead and look at Europe. Europe has had quite a few earthquakes. As you can see offshore of Portugal, they have continued to have earthquakes. We already covered this area here in the previous video. Also, you can see in Spain, they are also having earthquakes 2.7. And if we get a little closer, which we probably should do, we will be able to see these little micro earthquakes that are also occurring as well. A lot of them are very, very small. They're in the ones. I haven't seen any in the twos in this area, but it's just that there's quite a few earthquakes that are happening in this particular area. Now, as you go on to Monaco, you'll see that there's the twos start, and you see the 2.1 happen about 22 hours ago. And if you look further into France, France has been experiencing quite a swarm of earthquakes. Now, this particular one was a quarry blast that generated a 1.7 earthquake, and you can see here 1.6. Now, as we go up though, we'll see a 2.1 that's in France, and all along this area here, you can see that there's quite a few earthquakes. Now, there was an earthquake that generated quite a bit of attention. As you can see, these are responses to an earthquake that occurred, and we're going to take a look into that particular earthquake. It happened in Germany, and there was 1,881 people said that they felt that particular earthquake. It was a 3.9. They say they're minor, but it wasn't minor to these folks. They actually reacted to it. Liechtenstein has also had earthquakes in their particular area. They had a 3.0, and it was unconfirmed right here in Austria. And if we go up a little bit, you can see that there's even more earthquakes in Germany. There's a 2.5 that also took place, and there was also a 2.2. But you can see that there's all earthquakes all throughout this area. Now, a lot of people are not aware that there are volcanoes in Germany, and there are earthquakes happening next to their volcanoes. I lived in Germany for 3 years. I had no idea that there was a volcano in Germany. I drove right past the volcanoes in southern Italy. I had no idea that there was actually a volcanoes in Italy. And I lived not too far from Catania when I lived in Sicily. I did know about Mount Etna, but I didn't know enough information about what could happen with a volcano being near. So I've been living around volcanoes for quite some time. I just didn't know what they were. And now that I know what they are, I'm very, very interested in them. There was a 1.6 that was also in Slovenia. Croatia looked like they had some little micros over in this particular area. And as you can see, as we inch on down towards Italy, Italy has had a great deal of earthquakes, especially in central Italy. This has been going on for some time now. It looks like 2 hours ago they had a 1.4. I do not know what is generating these earthquakes, but a 1.4 11 hours ago, 21 hours ago, and 1.5. I mean, it's all throughout this area. Italia is definitely having a lot of little micro earthquakes all throughout, even down to the southern part. 22 hours ago there was a 1.1, and as we get down towards the Messina Reggio area, God, I used to love this place. You can see that there's actually still 1.1 magnitudes that are actually happening. Even all throughout Sicilia, you can see that there's actual earthquakes. Now near Syracuse there was a 2.0 about 18 hours ago. And now you have Mount Etna that's actually under warning now to erupt. You have Stromboli and you have Volcano. Stromboli is still erupting and Volcano is actually under unrest at this time. But this was one of the best places I could have lived, and if I had my choice to retire right this very moment, I would actually retire in a place they call Taormina, and that is right here. I would retire at this spot right here. If I had the chance to just say forget it, between there and Costa Rica, great place. Now let's go ahead and take a look at all these different areas. Now Romania, we mentioned Romania had earthquakes. Before we get down to Greece, I want to make sure that we check everything here. I want you to know that there was also some earthquakes all in this area here near Cologne, past Cologne. And let's see, there was also some earthquakes here in Norway and Sweden. A lot of these are small, but I just want you to be aware that there are earthquakes going on in Norway and Sweden. And when we look over this way, we can see that in Finland they have had earthquakes 2.4, and they had micros at the very north. Now there's some way up here. Now this is all the way up in Sweden, North Sweden, and this is over in Russia. You can see that there are actually earthquakes occurring in that particular area as well. Now let's go on down to Greece, and we already mentioned Romania. Just want to make sure we don't forget anywhere. All right, Bulgaria, Serbia, they've had earthquakes all in this area. Now when we get down to Greece, you know, we did a video on you, and I want to thank the Greek community for actually visiting the video that we did on Greece. I really appreciate it. A lot of you came to the video. I really wish I could have had the subtitles up in time for when a lot of you came initially to the video, but it took a while for the information to flip over to where I could actually have everything translated. But there's a 2.9 that happened 6 hours ago in Greece, and as you can see, there are micros throughout this area. Some of these happened throughout the week. Last week, 2 days ago, there was a 2.5, and you can see that there's little micros here. 5 hours ago, there was a 1.8. So everything's all mixed up. You can see that some of these earthquakes happened hours ago, and some of them happened days ago. We're going to keep everything up so that way you can get a feel for what actually has been occurring in these particular areas. Now, there was a 2.1 here on the islands here, and that was about 20 hours ago. A lot of offshore earthquakes are happening, and as you can see, a lot of these happen within 24 hours. The red ones are the ones that happen within 24 hours. Found 13 new updates, updated in 15 quakes. Okay, so we have a lot of earthquakes coming in right now. 3.1 actually happened off of the islands, and just okay, Bulgaria also had a 2.1. But I just want Greece to know that you have had so many earthquakes, especially all the way down here to Crete. Oh my goodness. A lot of creeks has been offshore, but they've also have some on land. 6 hours ago they had a 1.8. 2 days ago they had a 3.2, and some of these they are actually able to feel on the on the island. There was also a 1.7 about 12 hours ago. A 1.8 also occurred, but the majority of the ones for Crete are happening offshore. This is where the plates are actually subducting. One of the tectonic plates are going under another one, and that is why you're having all these earthquakes in this area. Turkey has had a serious earthquake swarm right in this particular area. I don't know what's going on. I can see 2 days ago they had 49 users state that they felt that earthquake that I just recently clicked. Also 3 hours ago they had a 2.1. So this is an area that's really active right now. I would have to do some research to find out if there's fracture zones or something listed here in the water to see exactly what's going on. A lot of times they're fractures, they're faults underwater that we're unaware of. There's a 2.1 happened 3 hours ago in this particular area here, and as you go around you can see those offshore earthquakes are also still happening. And then there was a swarm in this particular area here. Recent earthquakes 20 hours ago there was a 2.0 in Turkey, and as you can see even up in northern Turkey there was a 1.8, and 2 days ago there was a 2.1. Now Turkey also has volcanoes, and as you can see there was an earthquake here, right here by these volcanoes. But what I'd like you to take a look at is this place right here. There's something going on this fault line. This is a fault line. These white lines are fault lines, and they are having a lot of activity in this particular area. There was a 4.0 5 hours ago. There was a 4.3 11 hours ago, and there's still other earthquakes that are more recent. 2 hours ago there was a 1.2. Then you see a 1.6 and a 2.2 11 hours ago. So they're having back-to-back earthquakes for some reason in this particular area. I'm not really sure why. I don't know enough about the land. I would have to do some serious research. But you also have earthquakes throughout Turkey, even in this area, even in the northern part. Armenia has had earthquakes, and some of those are located right by their volcanoes. And that is also Turkey, which also had a 2.8, and that was just 4 hours ago. So we don't know what's going on with Turkey. We've already covered all the other areas. We've covered Europe pretty much. Let's make sure that we take a look at the UK, because sometimes they'll have micros. There's one little baby one out here. That's nothing compared to what they have had in the past. In this particular area, for some odd reason, they have had a lot of unconfirmed earthquakes. And we've already covered all these different areas in Germany, Greece, Italy, Spain, Portugal, Slovenia, Serbia, Turkey. So looks like we're pretty much done. I want to thank everyone for their patience, and thank you so much for stopping by the channel. And I really am happy that a lot of people are starting to give me feedback and likes and letting me know that they're getting something out of the channel. That makes my day, and it makes me feel like I'm doing something important and helping other people. Like, share, and subscribe, and thank you all for coming by the channel. Take care. Ciao.